former New Jersey governor and current Republican presidential candidate, Governor Christie, joins us right now. Governor, you believe this isn't isolated. You believe this is a reflection on our policies, not only in Ukraine, but in Afghanistan. In what sense?
Well, they're all connected, Brian. Look, when you show weakness, when you show appeasement anywhere, it invites terrorists and despots to act anywhere. And so when we pull out of Afghanistan and let the Taliban get back into power, what happens? The Taliban today is now asking Iraq, Iran, and Jordan to let them go across their land so they can go fight Israel and Jerusalem. The Taliban shouldn't even be in place, but Joe Biden permitted that to happen. Then you go next to what you see in Ukraine, because we're wrestling over whether to give them aid or not. We didn't act when Crimea was taken. And what's happened now? Joe Biden wringing his hands, not giving them everything they need to win this war. They see weakness there. And then Joe Biden negotiating with the Iranians, negotiating with the mullahs, and ultimately wanting to negotiate a deal on the nuclear issue with them that's bad for us, and authorizing the $6 billion release shows signs of weakness as well. And so they authorize Hamas to go in and test us in Israel. These are all connected, Brian. Appeasement and isolationism does not ever work for keeping the world safe. It makes the world chaotic and dangerous.
We used to know that. Maximum pressure on Iran is what made Israel feel safe and the Abraham Accords happen. As soon as we condemn Saudi Arabia, who are less than a perfect nation, I get it. But Iran being primarily our enemy, we began to open up a hornet's nest in the Middle East and allowing them to buy oil and produce oil and sell it at now 3 million barrels a day instead of 400,000 or less, with barrels of oil going at $85 a barrel. That fuels this terror cell.
Of course it does, Brian. And look, of course, there's no country out there that's perfect. Not one of the countries we deal with in this world is perfect. But governing and leading is about choosing. And the fact of the matter is, the worst actors in the world right now are the Iranians, the North Koreans, the Russians, and the Chinese. And they are all brought together, and they encourage smaller bad actors like Afghanistan and the Taliban and Hamas and Hezbollah to get into the fight, and gives them courage, gives them beer muscles, because we're not doing what we need to do. And it doesn't help, Brian, when we're divided as a country ourselves on these things. We need to once again have America leading the world. And sometimes that means sacrifice. But the sacrifice we're seeing in Israel tonight is tragic and unacceptable. The sacrifice we're seeing in Ukraine, tragic and unacceptable. And America better make sure it doesn't come to our shores, because this continued weakness by both parties is going to lead to it.
Governor, the president gave a strong statement in support of Israel. Is that enough? What would you like to see tomorrow and the next day, or later on tonight?
Well, you know what I'd like to see, Brian, is something that we can't do because we don't have a Speaker of the House. The president should ask the Congress to come back into session Monday and vote for whatever aid Israel needs to make sure that they win this war and win it completely and quickly. But because we had 8 Republicans team with all the Democrats to kick out the Speaker of the House, we don't even have a member of House leadership who may be able to be appropriately briefed on the intel here. We don't have a House that can come back to work because they're playing politics and deciding who's going to be their next leader in the middle of a crisis. And so that's what I'd like to see have happen. But, you know, the Democrats decided to team with 8 Republicans to kick Kevin McCarthy out of office. And because they decided to play political games to get more online contributions for guys like Matt Gaetz and Matt Rosendale, now today we cannot effectively respond and completely respond to it. The president should be tougher, and he should have said to Democrats, stop playing politics in the House. Let's get to work.
Governor, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Have a great night. Very trying time for America and our allies. Meanwhile,